After 11 years, one remaster, 2 spin-offs and a bunch of DLC, we finally have a brand new, fully fledged Mario Kart game with the recently released Mario Kart World. With it also launching alongside a shiny new game system with stronger specs and capabilities, this new release is the most ambitious game in the series by far at this point and really takes advantage of the hardware it's on. This title also boasts all new features such as upping the race account to 24 players alongside having the game be open world, really pushing this series into the modern day when it comes to just how far it's advanced and changed since the 90s. But how well does Mario Kart World execute all these promising new advancements? 11 years is a long time after all. Does Nintendo still have that same level of charm and fun that sold us on this beloved series to begin with? Today, let's take a look at the newly released Mario Kart World to find out whether or not it was worth the decade-long wait between mainline entries that fans were left waiting on all this time. Before jumping into my review, I would first like to add a short disclaimer. These opinions are all my own of course and might vary from general takes that you see on this site or on social media. At the end of the day, this series is one that many people feel passionate about, myself included, so it's only natural that fans out there are going to feel strongly about this game regardless of if they feel one way or another towards it. Of course, this goes both ways, so feel free to let me know what you think about Mario Kart World down in the comments and let's respect each other's opinion about this series that we both enjoy. And with all that out of the way, let's take a deep dive into the latest and greatest from Nintendo's long-running kart racing series. There are quite a few modes in the game, both old and new, however starting off, let's take a look at the actual racing itself in Mario Kart World. Things are fairly consistent with the series' roots when it comes to the actual driving. This time around however, in World, the vehicles feel like they have more resistance when turning and feel more responsive with performing turns being sharper and more twitchier with smaller motions than in previous entries. A good example of what I'm talking about is with the drifting, which in general is much more quicker and sharper due to the overall faster speed of the game. New to Mario Kart World is the ability to grind on rails, with it also allowing for more options to discover shortcuts and parkour opportunities. There's also been more refinements to previous moves, such as the added ability to charge a jump on straightaways to gain a speed boost when you can't drift. This time around, the racetracks are all interconnected and designed to fit into one another when it comes to having you race from one course into the next. As a result of the race account being doubled to 24 in World, there are more longer and wider roads that are implemented to accommodate all players. The developers added more movement options on straightaways such as grinding and charging a jump to keep things more interesting. This is since without them a lot of the time you would merely be moving in a straight line, which isn't exactly the most exciting thing in the world. Personally, I found these new movement additions to be great. Charging a jump can be pretty handy in general. Not only does it open up more parkour opportunities, it can also be used to dodge items, which can come in clutch due to just how this game can be extremely hectic when playing online, more on that later by the way. Now, it's still early days, but overall I've quickly found myself preferring the movement options and fluid handling of World over any other game in the series. Once I actually adapted and was no longer using the muscle memory of Mario Kart 8, I found the handling in general feels less floaty and more sharp in World. Drifting in general feels more snappy with how much quicker you can build up boosts here when compared to 8 Deluxe, which complements the game's overall feel. Let's talk a little bit about Mario Kart World's roster for a moment. This is by far the best these characters have ever looked visually on a graphical level with the new leap in hardware. I'm also just a big fan of the art style here and how that Super Nintendo art direction reminiscent of the series' roots seems to have been applied to some of the redesigns. Characters like Donkey Kong and Lakitu are good examples of this, looking more similar to how they were in Super Mario Kart on the SNES. Variety wise, the character roster is fairly stellar. You have your standard veteran mainstays alongside some interesting newcomers. The Mario Kart series has always had a fairly unconventional roster, from Rob the Robot back in DS all the way to whatever the hell this character lineup was.
Oh my god!
Before this game came out, I've seen online people not jive much with some of these new picks. While some of the classic characters have been given the unfortunate acts like Diddy and Peter, overall I kinda prefer this roster from 8 Deluxe. I'd take Cadaquack and Pianta any day over these guys. Granted, I will agree, some of these choices are strange. But it's just nice seeing more reps from titles like Mario 64, World and Sunshine. World also introduces cosmetic outfits for the humanoid characters. I'll spare the rant, but it's just nice seeing outfits be unlocked through playing the game over some obnoxious microtransaction system which has sadly become the norm. It's a practice that's plagued many games out there, and it's one this series hasn't been free from itself. Regardless, I feel like it's necessary to praise whenever skins are implemented in a game as part of the experience. Some of these outfits are amazing. I'm a big fan of how a lot of these look and even reference past games. Some of my personal favourites are Sightseeing Mario as a reference to Sunshine, and Aurora Rosalina with how it's reminiscent of Mario Galaxy.
Aurora Borealis.
Although, the ways they went about giving characters outfits is a little questionable. Can someone tell me why Baby Rosalina has more than double the amount of costumes than Donkey Kong? You know, one being a veteran since the beginning and the other being filler that most of the fanbase despises due to their presence contradicting the story of Galaxy. Despite all that, this roster in my opinion is about 2 steps forwards and 1 step back from 8 Deluxe. Better in most ways, but like previous installments in this series, it does raise many questions, which is kinda to be expected at this point. Anyway, my biggest criticism towards Mario Kart World as a whole is with how it goes about unlocking its extra content. The cosmetic outfits are fairly straightforward to get, if not a little repetitive, but for completionists out there or just players who want to see the full roster, unlocking the Chemic transformation enemies can be a nightmare. They spawn on very specific parts of certain tracks and are dependent on being hit by the new Chemic item. Looking online on Reddit reveals many people's stories of painstakingly having to repeat tracks to grind the unlocks. If you're playing this game casually, this might not be an issue, but if you want to unlock a specific racer, be prepared that you might have to pray to the RNG gods that you fulfilled the specific criteria. Please Mario Kart World, just give me Cataquack, I want to unlock this guy so badly. On the topic of unlocks, staples like Mirror Mode make a return, however 200cc has been given the Cutting World, which in my opinion is a missed opportunity. Mario Kart World already has boatloads of replay value, but I can't help but imagine how hectic 200cc would be with 24 races. It was my favourite addition in Base 8. Here's to staying hopeful that they'll add it in an update sometime in the future. Speaking of, one consistent opinion I've seen from my friends and people I've introduced this game to is how it's the hardest game in the series. Personally, I have to agree with it. Sure, it's early days, but one attempt at the online for this game will more than prove its difficulty. Despite the recovery frames being faster than previous entries when getting hit, going from 1st to 19th just feels like a bigger knockback than ever before. Races in general also no longer feel one-sided like in previous games, where seasoned players would front-run the entire match. There's a lot more back and forth going on in World. It takes some getting used to, but mastering the movement in Mario Kart World is essential when going against the more hardcore racers. Now, when it comes to the tracks in World, overall I'm impressed at the amount of visual diversity that's on offer here when it comes to the lineup of courses. A lot of the retro tracks from past games look almost unrecognisable in the modern art style of World and have been tweaked to fit naturally with the game's open world design. Bottomless pits for instance aren't really a thing anymore in this game, so tracks that once had them like with Dino Dino Jungle have been designed to fit around this change, which can look a little strange if you're used to seeing them. There are some cases where they are still present, but for a lot of the tracks they've been given the cut, which I'm guessing is because this game is designed to be explored in an open world setting with the free roam mode. When looking at the all new Nitro tracks, so far my favourite courses will definitely include Boo Cinema. The act of going into a movie screen and seeing a classic filter is a nice touch. And as a homage to SNES Ghost Valley, it seems to blend old and new very well here. Another shout out from World has to be with Rainbow Road. The magic this track is known for really comes to life with this rendition and is a great way to cap off your journey at the end. They really went all out with it being the longest track in the series at this point. Like with Mario Kart 7, it's also one big race course with no laps, which is great, and 7's was my favourite up until this point, but World's might have just won me over with how jaw-dropping it is with its newly upgraded visuals. On a more critical note, I found that a lot of the new tracks in World don't seem to have as much personality as we saw back in 8, and with the jump to 24 races, this means a lot of the tracks are much wider and straight this time around. Mario Kart 8 experimented a lot when it came to verticality, allowing for tracks to go in any direction they wanted to, which led to some very unique race courses. But with the more grounded track layouts that are inspired by World's marketed road trip inspired designs, they result in a lot of tracks feeling more grounded and closer to being based on realism. Mario Kart World's tracks are less all over the place like from previous games and are instead more laid back, having them be designed similar to real world locations, with the wider, more natural roads being good examples of this design change. Whether or not you'll like this different feel of the tracks will vary from personal preference. Personally, I think that after 8 Deluxe's in my opinion weaker booster course lineup, these tracks are a step up, but compared to Base 8 and the original DLC, World in some ways can feel like a step back in terms of feeling more out there and unique. I'm sure that as time passes and nostalgia starts to seep in, I'll feel more strongly about these tracks, but only time can truly tell on that point. I'll also admit that like a lot of people who play Mario Kart 8, my nostalgia for that title is very strong, which might be what's swaying my opinion here. Now that we've looked at the foundation of Mario Kart World, let's take a look at the different game modes that's on offer with this intro. You've got the modes that are to be expected like Grand Prix, Time Travel and Versus races. A good quality of life improvement is now when you complete a Grand Prix on the highest CC, it gives the previous grade to the lower CC, so you no longer have to play 50cc and watch as the real world passes you by. New to Mario Kart World is Knockout mode. I'm also going to be tying this section with my online experience in World since they're both relevant to one another. Knockout Tour seriously has some major potential as a premier Mario Kart experience, however some changes need to be made first. Starting off, it's an insane oversight how when matchmaking with public lobbies, your friends can't join you online, you have to make a private room and play against bots, which is nowhere near as fun. The online functionality as a whole is a huge step down from Mario Kart 8 and in some ways is even worse than 7 on the 3DS. Mario Kart 7 introduced communities, which was a great way to create a pre-made rule set and have lobbies available at all times for anyone to join regardless of if they were owners or not, unlike how it is in a private lobby. World axes that feature and instead only has private lobbies and public matchmaking with no option to spectate like in previous entries. It's harder now than ever before to play online with your friend group in a public lobby without having to constantly refresh and hope you can get in before the room fills up. One easy fix they could maybe implement sometime down the line is the ability to queue as a stack, since now lobbies can reach as big as 24 people. Regardless, the online when it runs is a lot of fun, but there are quite a few hiccups and hurdles you have to get over to reach that point. Things are less than smooth at the minute with the way it is, and all I really want to do is play with my friends in knockout mode in a public lobby. Anyway, moving on from that heated tangent, let's take a look at the all new free roam mode to bring things down a little and relax. This might be my favourite mode in the whole game. It's more laid back and chill as you hear the incredible remixes of World's soundtrack, all while soaking up the atmosphere of each race course. There are some challenges and hidden collectibles sprinkled in to keep you occupied. This is more of a single player experience for those looking for a change of pace to just racing. Some of the parkour challenges are quite difficult, but they really give you a deeper understanding of each track and usually tie into a shortcut you can use in the actual races. The amount of collectibles here is pretty high. As of making this review, I've barely collected even half of the free roam collectibles. It's way bigger in scope than you might think at first glance. In many ways, free roam is World's best mode. If you're looking for a single player experience that's a bit more laid back but at the same time pretty challenging, it's worth giving a try if you've overlooked it at all at this point. One last mode we'll be taking a look at today is with the battle mode. Myself alongside many others was pretty worried when we saw the trailer for Battling in World showing how like in Base 8 battle courses would just be reused racetracks. I think from what I played, these tracks aren't as bad as Base 8, but when comparing this mode to 8 Deluxe, the cracks really start to show here. I get it's unfair to compare the two at this point since 8 Deluxe was built off of Base 8, but we only have balloon and coin battle modes compared to the variety of battle options in 8 Deluxe. On a high note, balloon battles actually brings back a rule set that has been gone since DS. That's right, Knockout is back. Now when you lose all your balloons, you actually get eliminated instead of constantly respawning. There is a downside to this however. Despite making its much wanted return, chances are balloon battles will still time out due to the high racer count. Also, points based on attacking opponents are favoured over actual survival, so whilst it's here in spirit, the timer is still the ultimate decider in how you play this mode. It's a step in the right direction, but unfortunately it still has issues. You might be wondering why I haven't mentioned anything about the coin battles, and that's simple, they suck, no one likes them. I don't know why they keep bringing coin battles back, but it's here again if you want to play it.
Got him! Got him!
In conclusion, despite everything, Mario Kart World is still an incredible experience and shows that the series is still shining bright all these years later. The people complaining about this game and comparing it to 8 Deluxe isn't exactly fair since that title was a second chance at an already incredible game. Base Mario Kart 8 had its own slew of issues in the beginning, some of it being very similar to how it is with World, like with the battle modes alongside some of the roster choices. I feel like Mario Kart World will be a very different game by the end of the Switch 2's lifespan. I'm fairly certain that DLC and updates will be on the table for this game's future. But now, I'm curious, what did you think about Mario Kart World? Did it live up to your expectations? Feel free to let me know in the comment section. Also, any feedback on this video would be appreciated. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you have a nice rest of your day.